Building the future and keeping the past alive are one and the same thing.
The world that the boss envisioned will finally become a reality.
She was tough, yes, but she had feelings too. I knew that better than anyone else.
Half of me belongs to the boss. For 10 years, we lived and died together. You couldn't possibly understand.
History will never know what she did. No one will ever learn the truth. Her story, her debriefing will endure only in your heart. Everything she did for her country. She sacrificed her life and her honor for her native land. She was a real hero. She was a true patriot.
One must die, and one must live.
The legendary enigma, the boss, the tragic heroine, and the charismatic leader who survived some of the biggest wars in history, such as the Battle of Normandy in World War II and the Bay of Pigs invasion. She has seen the vastness of space and the intricate beauty of the Earth, but her final mission, Operation Snake Eater, was the ultimate sacrifice of them all, undertaken to bring peace to the world and prevent all-out nuclear catastrophe, and save her country. The same country that betrayed her, casting her as a war criminal and a despicable traitor with no honour. Her very name was defiled by the powers that be. She had one last mission and she played her role accordingly, expecting Naked Snake to eliminate her to clear America's name for the nuclear explosion that nobody anticipated by Colonel Volgin to his Soviet research facility, sparking tension between an already unstable relationship between the Soviet Union and the United States caught in a power struggle. Today's video is to discuss what would have happened if the boss survived and Naked Snake perished. Sadly, they couldn't come together to abolish the corrupt superpowers, as the boss stated, one must live and one must die, implying that the survivor will continue the fight. She doesn't exactly just lie down and let Snake kill her. The boss even talks as if in introspection. With the philosopher's legacy she obtained will allow her to achieve her goals, to make the world one, anticipating this just in case Snake may not survive.
The world must be made whole again. The philosophers must be reunited. I will devote my skills to that purpose. And with the Colonel's money, I will achieve that end. One must die, and one must live. No victory, no defeat. The survivor will carry on the fight. It is our destiny. The one who survives will inherit the title of boss. And the one who inherits the title of boss will face an existence of endless battle.
It's clear that she hands Snake a fake philosopher's legacy, knowing that Eva is the Chinese spy and wants to get her hands on it, and would give the legacy to Ocelot, in which half would be given to the CIA. We have to remember that the boss was loyal to her country, her mission, so if she was to die, that would be the place that she would most likely want it to go. But if the boss survived and Snake died, it would be a different story.
The boss has accomplished her mission. The philosopher's legacy is now safely with us, in America's hands. With this money, yes, the philosophers can finally be revived. The film we handed the Chinese was a fake. Peking must be in an uproar right about now. I'm afraid so. Only half the money has made it back to the United States. The KGB must still have part of the legacy.
Bear in mind Ocelot states the KGB must have a part of the other half of the legacy, but it's more than likely that being a triple spy that he is, he has got the other half already for himself until he decides what's the best course of action is needed. So he gives the CIA some cover story whilst he retains hold of the legacy, which would later on known to become the funding that would make Cypher, a list of members such as Paramedic, Sigint, Ocelot, Zero, and Big Boss himself. We also can't forget that Ava would also be on board on these operations too later in the series. Which brings me to Portable Ops, which some just consider not canon, but as I've explained, there's enough evidence to suggest that it is, but I don't care to discuss it as I've already explained it before. Ocelot mentions how he's come for the other half, implying that in which I've already stated that he had the KGB's half and now wanted the CIA's half from the director himself by him and Zero, who brought around the San Geronimo incident in order to obtain the legacy.
The hell are you doing? You're not planning to betray the philosophers, are you?
Betray? No, I'm not going to betray them. I'm going to end them. Then we'll take back what you stole from us. We will carry on the spirit of the true Patriot.
The true Patriot?
It's all part of our plan to make the world she envisioned a reality. And so, I've come for the other half of the legacy.
So then, what if the boss survives? Is it possible that Ocelot and the boss had the discussion in case Snake didn't make it? Well, maybe so. Like I said, she doesn't just lay down and die, she actually fights Naked Snake to the death.
Move or you're dead.
If you guys can remember, the boss orders MiGs to come and airstrike the place if Snake can't beat her within 10 minutes, which of course would result in both of their deaths. Which of course would cause a time paradox within the game's series, ultimately making Cypher and the Patriots a force not to be reckoned with because nobody would challenge them. Big Boss was the deterrent to that very ideology that wished to control the world. That's to say that if Big Boss and the boss died, that Cypher and the Patriots would still be a thing, leading the world to a endless human enslavement controlled by AI, or if Skullface managed to defeat Zero and bring around a liberator, since the sons of Big Boss wouldn't exist, so Skullface would have to try and eradicate the English language and make the world riddled with nukes to stick it to the colonial powers, which would make the world evidentially unstable. Both ideologies who would once again misinterpret the boss's will, like several other characters in the game. And whilst there may be others to oppose the Patriots like Ocelot, without people like Snake doing the groundwork, it would be unlikely they may stop them. Because we must bear in mind, even after the death of the boss and Snake, Zero would most likely still continue his plans of his interpretation of the boss's will.
This is the end.
If the boss survived, it is more than likely that she would have used the fact that the MiGs that airstrike the last place she was seen as a cover to fake her death, perhaps Ocelot claiming to be a witness of the affairs. The US government along with the Russians would be informed of the boss's death. That would prevent a third world war, with the boss supposedly now out of the picture and with the undecided fate of the legacy, since it's in Ocelot's possession, would have to confer with the boss what would be the best course of action to do with the amass of funds, where the US would be most likely still given half of the funds to be retrieved later on, just like the San Geronimo incident, with the boss anticipating the navigation of the Cold War politics and events and the potential fall of the Soviet Union and crippled economy, which would slow down the tensions, at least for a while. The very downfall of the Soviet Union is implied in the MGS series as well as the real world.
What do you intend to do with Ray? Sell it on the streets?
I was raised in Snezinsk, formerly known as Chelyabinsk 70, the nuclear research outpost.
What are you talking about?
After the Cold War ended, my home was bought out by the Americans.
Is there a point to this sad story?
None you would understand. Land, friends, dignity, all sold to the highest bidder, the United States of America. Even the technology that gave birth to these weapons is Russian, developed by us.
What do you intend to do?
Russia will rise again.
All of this in the real world is due to the combination of economic stagnation, political reforms and nationalist movements. The Soviet economy was severely weakened by the prolonged arms race and the insufficient central planning. Mikhail Gorbachev's policies of openness and restructuring aimed to reform the system, but instead led to increased demands for independence and democracy. Nationalist movements gained momentum, and in 1991, the failed coup against Gorbeks further destabilized the government. Ultimately, the Soviet Union dissolved as republics, declared independence, marking the end of the Cold War. The United States represented capitalist democracy, while the Soviet Union advocated for communism. These opposing ideologies created the deep mistrust and hostility between the two superpowers. And after the post-World War II vacuum in Europe and Asia led to competition between the US and the Soviet Union to influence and control these regions. Some have suggested the Cold War may have persisted if the USA had experienced the same economic strain as the Soviet Union. America's trump card was its robust and resilient economy. In the world of Metal Gear Solid is the philosopher's legacy, which could sustain high military spending and innovation without collapsing, factors contributing to the including in its advanced technology sector, diversified industrial base, an effective capitalist economic system. Additionally, the US benefited from strong alliances, NATO, global trade networks, and domestic political stability. These elements allowed the US to outspace the Soviet Union in the arms race and technological advancements, ultimately leading to the USSR's economic exhaustion and political dissolution. Ronald Reagan played a crucial role in the latter stages of the Cold War. His administration significantly increased the US defense spending and took a hardline stance against the Soviet Union, calling it the evil empire. Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative aimed to develop missile defense systems to further pressure the Soviet economy. The SALT II talks initiated before Reagan aimed to limit strategic arms but were never ratified due to the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979. Reagan's support for Afghanistan Mujahideen fighters through Operation Cyclone prolonged the conflict, an essence of proxy wars, straining Soviet resources. In the context of Metal Gear Solid 5, this period is the highlight of the geopolitical tensions and covert operations characterized of the Cold War era.
Todd went right out the window. The U.S. Congress chose not to ratify SALT II, and Reagan's hardline politics won him the presidency in a landslide. According to him, the Soviet Union's an evil empire. The Second Cold War. And there's been no end to regional conflicts and civil wars. Lebanon, the Falklands, Grenada, Iran, Iraq.
So what does all of this have to do with the boss? Well, everything, as she now has to navigate around the geopolitical events like the Cold War in order to strategize how she can make her vision become a reality, a world without capitalism and communism. Since the public perception of the boss wouldn't be so good, she would have to operate in the shadows and establish a new form of government from within the most powerful nations, and eliminating the current powers that be in the corrupt CIA sector and intelligence agencies from within, and covertly over time establish her influence like Major Zero did, but in a less corrupt manner.
But the Earth itself has no boundaries. No East, no West, no Cold War. And the irony of it is, the United States and the Soviet Union are spending billions on their space programs and the missile race, only to arrive at the same conclusion. In the 21st century, everyone will be able to see that we are all just inhabitants of a little celestial body called Earth. A world without communism or capitalism, that is the world I wanted to see.
Similar to Big Boss, the boss would establish a new form of a secretive global influence, but her vision would diverge significantly. Instead of creating a militaristic enclave for profiting from war, her aim would be to eradicate conflict entirely, with the access to the philosopher's legacy, which endows her with an unparalleled fortune of 100 billion, which would be in 1945 that equivalent, but by today's standards would be 1.5 trillion today. She would possess the financial means to overshadow even the most powerful nations. Her approach would involve creating a covert global network dedicated to diplomacy, peace and sustainable development. With the support of a few trusted allies and her own son Ocelot, the boss's vision of a new world order based on peace and unity could indeed become a reality. It's highly plausible that Major Zero could learn through clandestine channels such as Ocelot that the boss is still alive and secretly operating. Given their deep military history and long-standing bond, Zero would likely agree to join her cause. His experience and loyalty would make him a valuable right-hand man, much like Ocelot. With such formidable team at her disposal, the boss could effectively orchestrate global transformation whilst continuing to conduct top-secret missions covertly, ensuring that her ultimate goal of a harmonious and unified world is ultimately realised. But despite her ambitions of global peace and unity, the boss would inevitably face significant challenges. For instance, during the events of Peace Walker, as the era of digital and electronic artificial intelligence begins to emerge, the boss would need to address a critical threat: Hot Coldman's corrupt ideals surrounding nuclear deterrence. Hot Coldman's plans involves using artificial intelligence to control nuclear weapons, an idea that the boss would definitely detest. That poses a severe risk to global stability. Hot Coldman is a formidable adversary, not only because of his dangerous innovations, but also due to his personal history with the boss as a former CIA operative. He was instrumental in orchestrating the mission to eliminate her during Operation Snakeeater, so no doubt the boss would have a score to settle. Given this background, Hot Coldman represents both a tactical and personal threat to the boss's mission. Successfully countering his plans would be crucial to maintaining her vision.
The age of heroes is over, buried alongside the boss and her bankrupt beliefs. From now on, our only heroes will be machines.
At a pivotal moment in the boss's mission during the events of Peace Walker, she encounters Dr. Strangelove, a specialist in robotics and AI who is assisting Hot Coldman in his schemes involving machines and nuclear weapons. Strangelove, driven by a deep admiration and love for the boss, is determined to uncover the true intentions behind the boss's supposed betrayal of her country. Believing the boss to be dead, Strangelove would embark on creating an AI based on the boss's psyche. Desperate to understand the truth, she harbours no interest in Coldman's plans but goes along with them, aware that the CIA operative might silence her once her work is complete. In a shocking turn of events, the boss walks into Strangelove's lab. Strangelove, in emotional disbelief, falls to her knees before the boss, the very woman she idolises and loves. Overwhelmed, she begins asking questions about what really happened during Operation Snakeeater in 1964. The boss would explain that she was used by our own government and corrupt CIA agents to retrieve the philosopher's legacy. She reveals that she faked her death to make her resurgence when the time was right. This revelation not only clears the air, but it also solidifies the boss's resolve to dismantle the system of manipulation and deceit that had controlled her and work towards a world genuine of peace and unity, even if that means perhaps eradicating the CIA, a former branch that she was once connected to.
Then how did you get the information for this mission? It can't have been from Sokolov.
From the boss.
The boss?
That's right. She has her own intelligence channels that she cultivated during the last war. She shared what she learned with us. That we were able to get the green light for this mission at all is thanks to her pull with the powers that be at the CIA. In other words, this mission would never have come together without the boss's help in a number of respects.
Strangelove now aligned with the boss and the CIA director eliminated by Ocelot, it was time to eradicate Hot Coldman's plans. The boss's mission would likely proceed much more smoothly with Zero support, ensuring that neither Zadornov or Paz would even be necessary or even pose a threat, since, well, Zero didn't need to keep an eye on Big Boss. By preemptively striking Coldman before he could launch his nuclear weapons would become the priority, and with a dedicated strike force team like the Ocelot unit, they could effectively neutralise Coldman's threat. This decisive action could prevent the world from being thrust into a nuclear catastrophe once more, and eliminate the idea to even contact NORAD. The research and technology developed during the Peace Walker events were then repurposed to support the boss's vision for the coming digital age. It's also worth mentioning too that Chico, unlike the perilous situation Big Boss put him in, was rehabilitated and provided a good education on the mainland, ensuring a bright future away from conflict. And the people of Costa Rica recognising the boss's pivotal role in saving their country, who would see the boss not as a traitor and a war criminal she had been branded, but as a saviour and visionary leader. Their gratitude and respect would lead them to rally behind her cause, embracing her vision for a world of peace and unity. And with a formidable team, advanced technology and widespread support, the boss was well on her way to realising that her dream of a harmonious global society just might come true.
The boss was a legendary hero from the Second World War, known as the Mother of Special Forces. She had an almost overwhelming charisma about her. The CIA feared this, so they had her eliminated. If she had survived, the world of the 21st century might have been a very different place. We were all influenced by the boss's will.
The last nuke's been decommissioned. It's over, boss. I thought this day would never come.
In a world divided by nuclear weapons and ideologies, with superpowers maintaining a delicate balance through deterrence, the boss would take a distinctly different path, differing from Big Boss, who used nuclear deterrence to keep other nations at bay that would threaten his nation of soldiers and ideologies. The boss would take a distinctly different path, firmly anti-nuclear. She would not hold such weapons in her own secret nation. Instead, her goal would be to disband nuclear arms worldwide and create a nuclear-free world. To achieve this, the boss would establish a hidden secure base of operations, away from public scrutiny and official oversight without attracting too much attention like Big Boss did in Zanzibar, likely in a neutral or less conspicuous country to avoid detection and political interference. She would build a network of loyal operatives and supporters committed to her cause, working discreetly to execute her plans. This network would be built from skilled individuals from various fields, including military, intelligence, technology, and diplomacy, and utilizing advanced encryption and secure communication channels. The boss would protect sensitive information and coordinate operations without revealing intentions or identities. Her covert efforts would extend to infiltrating major nations like the United States, Russia, and China, influencing politics, the economy, and overall geopolitics. With her formidable resources and a dedicated team, the boss would systematically dismantle the global nuclear threat. The nuclear disarmament would happen over time, and it would happen from within nations, not forced with military combat, as the boss's agents and politicians within governments would give the people of the world what they want, a peaceful and sustainable society that we can all come together on.
Humanity, every one of us, has chosen the path of nuclear disarmament. Out of ethics or desire, government policy, military strategy, whatever the reason. It's our path too. And each step forward makes it more solid.
This is not to say that the boss would forego a military alliance entirely. To implement her goals, she would establish a coalition of the major superpowers, united under a vision similar to NATO, where the world stands as one, as a military alliance that threatens the establishment that is for peace. This alliance would support shared guidelines of peace, whilst allowing nations to retain their unique cultures and identities, reminiscent of the old philosopher's order that once prevented wars. The boss's vision would involve implementing systems that promote greater public participation in decision-making processes, thereby reducing the power of traditional nation-states and fostering a more inclusive global community. It would be a world without flags, but with a profound sense of togetherness. This approach would ensure that all voices are heard and that the global community works collaboratively towards common goals. Her closest disciples, including Dr. Strangelove, deeply understood this vision. They recognised that the unity and cooperation of a world of lasting peace and mutual respect could be achieved.
Nuclear disarmament. Boss, we can't let this achievement go to waste. And that means we'll have to get stronger. No nuclear program will go unseen. Someone manages to build another nuke, we'll be there to shut him down. Gotta love the irony.
She believed the world is not the way it's supposed to be, that it's been unbalanced by the tenuous peace offered of nuclear deterrence, and that she was to blame. Perhaps her death was an act of atonement. She was loyal to the end, to our world.
With such innovative minds at her disposal, the boss would enlist the talents of individuals like Huey, Strangelove, Paramedic, and Sigint to create technologies that could revolutionize various sectors, including renewable energy, artificial intelligence, and global communication networks. These advancements would drive economic and social progress whilst reducing the reliance on conflict and competition, by making energy accessible to everyone and cultivating it naturally. The need for countries to invade others for wealth and resources would become obsolete, since that nations would become one. Scientists like Sokolov would no longer be exploited to create dangerous weapons. Instead, they would develop inventions that benefit humanity.
I am still a weapons scientist. To be honest with you, I'm tired. Every day I help create things that should never be used, things that should never have existed in the first place. Every day, without sleep, without a word of praise from others. And my creations do not even benefit mankind. They are merely the tools of politicians.
This collaborative effort would foster a world where technological progress and humanitarian values can coexist, ensuring a peaceful and prosperous future for all. And in cultural and ideological influence, the boss would work to shift public opinion and cultural attitudes in favour of a new world order. This might involve promoting global unity and cooperation through media, education, and public campaigns, especially towards the age of the internet where information is accessible at any time. That would bring around its own set of challenges regarding disinformation, and not just for the larger powers narrative, but the general public. One that the boss must navigate through without taking too much freedom from the public, but to still be able to influence the masses to spread the message of peace and unity. To abolish any war-minded ideologies whilst remaining in the shadows, just like Zero.
Do you remember the panic that gripped the computer industry prior to the end of the century?
You mean the Y2K problem?
That's right. If you recall, our government supplied the world with a countermeasure program, using the internet at full capacity.
The canon world of Metal Gear Solid Zero's interpretation of the boss's will was flawed. However, in this scenario, the boss is alive and well, albeit coming of age. She would implement an AI system designed to benefit humanity, with Sigint, also known as Donald Anderson in Metal Gear Solid 1, as the brainchild behind the project during the events leading up to 1984. That's of course been the AI networks. Understanding the complexities of global unity, the boss would seek to eliminate threats to her vision. Skullface, driven by his desire for revenge against Zero, would pose a significant challenge. If he could see the benefits of the boss's vision, a world that unifies people without erasing their languages or cultures, he might become an ally. However, if his hatred was too deeply rooted, the boss would recognise this necessity of eliminating him to protect the prospect of world peace. The boss and Zero go way back, and if Skullface won't play ball, then the boss would cut loose ends.
Mission complete, boss.
Zero would still be working alongside the boss, suggesting his ideas for creating a unified world through controlled context for the masses. However, the boss would advocate for a wiser approach, promoting a context not solely controlled by artificial intelligence, acknowledging the potential for AI to make mistakes, as evidenced by the Peace Walker events. She would ensure that AI systems are monitored by human overseers. To achieve this, the boss would employ agents tasked with managing the global internet infrastructure from different nations, ensuring AI remains in check. These agents would oversee data, promote beneficial ideologies that showcase peace and unity, and work to eradicate war and recruitment propaganda by combining the efficiency of AI with human judgment and ethical oversight. The boss's strategy would foster a world where technology and humanity would work hand in hand. In stark contrast to the likes of Big Boss and Zero, the boss would strive to eradicate war as a business by not allowing it within the mainstream economy. While she would maintain a military force to keep in check those who oppose a peaceful society, her primary focus would be fostering a public mindset influenced by good morals and peacefulness, even if it requires a degree of propagation. Her approach would ensure that the concept of war for profit is eliminated, replacing it with a vision of global unity and cooperation, by promoting beneficial ideologies and showcasing examples of peace. The boss would guide society towards a harmonious existence through the balanced strategy that she would create a world that is in somewhat controlled by a context, but one that is beneficial to humanity.
As the world saw the rise of digital technology, IT, the internet, and genetics, the Patriots' power grew immense. Their roots spread and took hold throughout the globe. In time, they began to dictate the fate of entire nations from the shadows. And before we knew it, the Patriots, the proud police of the world, started bringing an entire planet under their control.
The boss would also wield significant influence over media channels, including entertainment, advertisements, and news, ensuring that they promote principles beneficial to society. In Metal Gear Solid 4, the war economy has become integrated into society, with advertisements pushing people to join PMCs and investments into war mindsets. In contrast, the boss would aim to shift public perception by highlighting the importance of human values over material wealth and violence. Understanding that people are easily influenced by celebrities and musicians, she would collaborate with influential figures to propagate messages of peace and unity and compassion. And it would be this approach that would counteract the normalization of war's economy, steering towards a culture that values ethical principles and peaceful coexistence, by strategically using the media to promote these very ideals.
The nanomachines keep track of the soldiers and their real-time personal data 24 hours a day. They monitor each man's position, movement speed, reserve ammo, firing accuracy, wounds, rations, water intake and supply, sweat secreted, heart rate, blood pressure and sugar levels, oxygen. All the data gathered on body condition, on sensory organ data showing pain and fear, data on every internal response within the body. All of it is collected by an AI at the system's core.
In a world of ever-developing technologies like nanomachines that hold the potential to transform a society significantly, as many of you are aware, nanomachines play a crucial role in the Metal Gear Solid series because they enhance the user's abilities, regulate emotion, and extend their use to regular armies, PMC soldiers, and public organizations like police agencies. Historically, these nanomachines were designed to control and manage individual bodies, but they evolved into tools capable of controlling groups, including managing firearms, potentially enslaving people on a genetic level, and invading public privacy. But however, the boss would find a way to utilize this system ethically. She would implement nanotechnology to enhance human capabilities and regulate health without compromising individual freedom or privacy. Her approach would ensure that nanomachines are used to promote well-being, equality and security while strictly preventing their misuse for control or oppression. Reading this article, it became clear to me that nanomachines are not so far-fetched and could soon become a reality in the realm of medical innovations. Nanomachines have potential to greatly benefit humanity by providing advanced treatments for people in need, as showcased in Metal Gear Solid. Nanomachines can assist those with diseases, critical wounds, and even mental health issues. Hypothetically, the boss could use nanomachines to further control and maintain peace by putting people's mindsets in a state of happiness and suppressing anger as an emotion with nanomachines. Given the boss's nature and her dedication to ethical principles, it is unlikely that she would allow such power to corrupt her. Instead, she would harness the potential for nanotechnology to foster well-being and harmony, ensuring that these advancements would serve humanity's best interest.
What have you done?
Vamp and I, we are the same. We're living corpses. Our bodies kept barely alive by nanomachines.
So then what is an enemy? Is there such a thing as an absolute timeless enemy? There is no such thing, and never has been. And the reason is that our enemies are human beings like us. They can only be our enemies in relative terms. The world must be made whole again. The philosophers must be reunited. I will devote my skills to that purpose. We have no tomorrow. But we can still have hope for the future.
I haven't forgotten what you told me, boss. We have no tomorrow. But there's still hope for the future. In our struggle to survive the present, we push the future farther away. Will I see it in my lifetime? Probably not. Which means there's no time to waste. Someday the world will no longer need us. No need for the gun, or the hand to pull the trigger.
I just want to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone who's watched my video. This has been my take on some fanfiction of events that could transpire if the boss lived, to see her vision become a reality. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, so feel free to share your own fanfiction ideas. Maybe Big Boss lives and joins forces to crush the oppressive governments alongside the boss. There's no doubt that the boss would face a long battle to achieve all that we've discussed today, as she would inevitably encounter resistance. It's human nature. Since the dawn of time, people have been at war and never really have achieved true world peace. Anyway guys, please subscribe and support the channel and the cause. I'm the Voicebox, and until we meet again,